Ratings 2.0 is the result of your demand for more information. Here's a top-line view of what you requested and is in the new release. The availability of more audience segments to meet client targeting definitions. The incorporation and consideration of speed and congestion and a refined visibility model that refines our ratings based on people who see ads. The expansion of our measurement to report into the reporting of digital ads for spot rotations rather than the digital structure. Approximately 40,000 digital spots will be reported in the 2.0 release. And the expansion of our out-of-home ratings to include transit ads on buses, rail cars, and in stations. A huge increase in the number of ads being reported, an increase of about 1.5 million transit ads. I now would like to introduce Jeff Casper. Jeff was responsible for managing many of the enhancements that will take you through the details behind the significant changes in the numbers and the research behind them. Jeff?
Thanks, Joe. We're going to cover a number of things. First up is how we have updated and expanded the demography that is viewable now in the system beginning on June 16th. We will have new demographic audiences that are based on trips generated based on the latest information available from the American Community Survey and the National Household Transportation Survey. These are government surveys that have been grouped together in order to give us all of the demographic trip paths that we need to figure out which demos pass each board. Because this work is now more robust than ever before, we have been able to expand the number of demographics available to you from 90 to over 240 different groupings. This screenshot shows how today and in the future you can select all of these groupings on tabonline.com's audience delivery system. Speed and congestion is another element that we have introduced for the first time. Understanding how fast drivers pass by each location is critical to measuring digital inventory. Introducing this variable means that all inventory, not just digital, get impacted. The original rating system did not incorporate speed data. INRIX has arrived as a big data solution that fulfills this requirement. By licensing INRIX data, we can fit an average weekly speed profile onto each structure. We can use this data in part to figure out impressions and ratings for each flip on each facing. The first step in order to do this is to refine our existing VAI model. What we've done is bring forward all of the existing variables that go into the visibility adjustment score that's applied to each billboard, that moves the billboard's impressions from circulation to impressions, circulation audience estimates. These variables include size, read, distance, angle, and other variables that have a direct impact on somebody's ability to see the sign. We've now added a variable to it called dwell time. Dwell time is the amount of time spent in view of a location. We've never had this before. It's calculated, and it is done by breaking down traffic and speed by each hour of the week for each location, then rolling it up to be reported as new weekly impressions that are different for each structure. This is applied to standard as well as digital spots. Dwell time means we have to figure out how much time people have in order to have an opportunity to see a structure. Dwell time is a combination of the contact zone, which is calculated for each structure and is listed below as a gray street here, and a combination of the contact zone plus how fast cars are moving. The contact zone is based on the size of the unit and the road type, and how fast cars are moving is based on the INRIX data I talked about earlier. The more time you have to see a structure, the more likely you are to actually see it. So dwell time matters for standard units, and especially so for digital units. Here's why. Digital units change copy, so it is possible to see more than one ad during the same pass. In this example, the fast car has an opportunity to see 2 ads, while the slow cars or in other words, my own car, has an opportunity to see 8 ads. Note that the opportunity to see doesn't mean you saw it. They won't actually see all of these, typically, but they will see a subset of these ads. Different cars travel at different speeds throughout the week. So to get the most accurate assessment of dwell time, we first have to break circulation down and speed down by each hour of the week. This page is an example of the total circulation that existed for this particular billboard. And we're going to use an example where we pretend that the billboard is both a standard and a digital billboard. This is an example of total circulation that we've broken down for each hour. Depending on the VAI score assigned, now with dwell time, we arrive at impressions. In this example, we have both a standard board and a digital board. By applying the standard board's VAI score, that now includes a minimal dwell time, this is just minimal traffic as an example, to the 100,000 circulation that you see on the upper right, we arrive at the weekly impressions of 77,693 for a standard unit. Or, said another way, 78% of the circulation. The digital board goes a step further. Because people are seeing more than one ad during the same pass, we actually end up with higher impressions than the original circulation for the structure. This means each of the 8 flips receives 1/8 of the total impressions. And we have another example here of moderate congestion, which does the same thing. And you begin to see the numbers move up a little bit. There's a little bit more traffic now. So standard impressions are now 79% of circulation, and digital impressions go up even further. And finally, here's an example of a board that typically has heavy congestion. And you see as we break it down by hour in the hourly graph on the left, how there are certain periods of the day, certain hours of the day, and during the course of the week, where you have really, really massive congestion. And because of this, you end up with a standard unit having all the way up to 82% of circulation, and a digital unit has much more impressions than the original circulation because they do see so many ads as they drive by. So here's how we report all of these ratings. We're not going to report the digital structure rating anymore the way we have. We are only going to be reporting each individual flip. So you see on the left, this is what it's going to look like starting next week. We have the unit number, and we've assigned an A, B, C, D, E, F, G, no matter, depending on how many flips that exist. And you'll notice as you scan across the top and look at the TRPs and the in-market week 1 impressions and other impressions, that they're always going to be the same within the same structure, but they're going to be different between structures. So what does all this mean? What is the overall impact on our ratings? Well, if we took all of the inventory that we assign this to, and remember the results will vary by market and actual inventory, but we've taken an average of the entire country, you see among standard formats on the top that bulletins and posters, bulletins especially, have a significant change in the number of impressions assigned to them, again, due to the impact of dwell time. Junior posters and transit shelters have about the same number of impressions assigned to moderately less impressions. And this is because the dwell time for juniors and transit shelters and other lower formats, smaller formats, decline because they have smaller dwell times. It actually has a slightly negative effect versus the other larger formats. For digital formats, you see the change to be much more profound. Because people have an opportunity to see, and they do see multiple ads on the same pass, digital bulletins on average will double the number of impressions that we currently assign. And digital posters will also go up markedly. So that's the street side inventory. I also wanted to touch on the fact that shortly after this release, we will also be releasing transit measurement for the first time. So this summer, ads on buses, rail, and interior stations will be released for 88 systems in over 60 markets. and will be available from these members. This will be made available in our own system, plus Telmar and Nielsen IMS this summer, and we will be phasing into other distribution platforms over the remainder of the year, also including all of the rest of the markets that we haven't yet processed by the end of the year. So with that, we will try to handle some questions, and I guess some of you have been typing some questions in, and we can cover them now.
Well, Jeff, the first question we have is, will this webinar be available to the members? As soon as the webinar is completed, it will be posted on our website and will be posted with both the video and audio component. The first question is we have is, still not sure about digital impressions. How can they be more than the actual impressions for the structure?
Try that, Dylan, or should I cover?
I'm assuming you're speaking to the 3 slides. This is Dylan Maven, charge of research here. Essentially, because of the fact that during the past, the changing creative or the changing spots, each spot has its own distinct probability of being seen. So if you have enough dwell time near the board, the same person could see multiple ads on the same structure, multiple spots. Those are aggregated for a structure rating, and because the ads are assumed to be randomly distributed, because we don't know when exactly one person might be driving by, we have to distribute those evenly amongst all of the ads in a rotation. Hence you seeing A, B, C through GH having the same impression. So those cumulative impressions, those net impressions, will be potentially higher than the circulation as you're seeing in these examples, especially during periods of heavy congestion when you may have an extended dwell time within the opportunity zone or the contact zone of a digital unit.
Right. So the fact that you can see more than one ad on the same pass is the main driver why you can actually have more impressions in circulation.
Jeff, I think one way to think about a digital display is that it's now similar in terms of being a time-based medium to a television commercial pod in which audiences are counted for each segment or each commercial in that TV pod break. And that's what we're doing for digital. So a person can be counted more than once in the calculation of a digital spot, and therefore exceed the circulation.
So there's a couple questions here. How are you defining circulation? Circulation means the amount of people that are driving by a location, whether they saw it or not. And this is based on a traffic count that's gathered by the Department of Transportation. And it is really part of the original daily effective circulation that we've used for so many years. What we're doing now is applying an audience correction to that in the form of a VAI score, where we multiply the visibility potential of the board by the circulation to arrive at impressions. There's another question here. When you say that digital bulletin impressions doubled, this is for the structure, right? The answer is yes. Each individual flip will not have as many impressions as the structure has, but when you add them all together, the structure may have more impressions than it did before. But remember, we're not buying the structure, we're buying individual flips, and that's what we're reporting. We're reporting the flips. Will circulation DEC be available again? The answer is, I hope not. This is a measure that we have moved away from because buyers and advertisers have roundly criticized us for not being as up-to-date as other media in how we measure people that are actually having any kind of interaction with the advertising.
Jeff, one of the questions is the contact zone the same for all units?
No, it isn't. The contact zone is based on a calculation of how big the board is versus, and also the type of road that it's on. So if a board is very large, you have an opportunity to see that board from a further distance away. Conversely, if it's very small, you don't have as much opportunity to see that board because it's tiny. Also, part of the consideration is the type of road. If you're on a big major interstate, you have an opportunity to see something that's further away than if you're on a local road with more twists and turns on it.
And another question is a what-if question. What if an advertiser buys in more than one spot in a digital rotation? How will that be? How should it be reported? How will it? Should our members utilize information?
Right. So let's pretend we have a board that has 8 spots available on it, and it's reported as such in the database as spots A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. So an advertiser comes in, or buyer comes in, and they say, I want to buy 2 out of these 8 spots. So what you would do is select 2 of those spots out of the numbers or letters A through H and add up the impressions.
People are asking, because we now have impressions based on time of day, it seems like we have impressions based on time of day. Are we reporting by time of day?
We could in the future, but we are not today. That is something that we've designed this research to do should the industry decide to go that route. There's been a lot of talk about reporting digital formats, digital units, so that they're available by day part. But right now, we will continue to report these units as an average weekly impression and rating until we get to a place where the industry decides otherwise.
As we're receiving questions on a variety of topics, so we're scanning them. What does VAI stand for?
VAI stands for Visibility Adjustment Impacts, which is a fancy way of saying what percentage of the people going by the location actually see it. Here's one on mobile billboards. How are mobile billboards being measured if the routes are customized based on campaign objectives? So we're working hard on mobile billboards. What we're doing with that group is we have to get together and we have to decide what a standard route is and report impressions and ratings against that standard route. What we'll be looking to do is gain agreement on what a standard route is for each market that the mobile billboards reside in and deliver impressions and ratings the same way we do for street side inventory and also soon enough for transit. So they will be able to report all of the same information that others will be able to report. However, if you decide that you don't want to use that standard route or you want the mobile billboard to be perched in a specific location, the ratings and impressions will no longer be valid for that particular campaign.
There's a question from Todd Scanlon. For media buyers who do not discount/divide a digital unit by 8, the new measurement will make CPMs increase drastically, correct? For every digital structure, we are collecting and have collected the number of ads in a rotation. If that were the case, if an operator gave us a digital face and it only had the one creative up, then we would have one ad in a rotation. That would definitely decrease their impressions because you wouldn't have the benefit of a separate opportunity as the audience passed by. Whereas in the case if someone was driving by a billboard on an interstate, you could potentially see it for 26 seconds, an 8-second ad. You would have multiple ad opportunities as you pass by that. If you did not have 8 ads in a rotation, you would never get that benefit. It would be more of a similar rating to one standard board. You wouldn't get that digital bump, if you will. And you would only have one spot to report.
Can you speak briefly on the methodology behind measuring buses? There's a separate presentation on our website, tabonline.com. If you go under Connect, or I think it's under Intelligence and then Connect 2014, you'll see presentation on there that talks about how we measure bus pretty specifically. And if you have any other questions, I invite you to call me directly. Do a couple more, Joe? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
We apologize as we scan the questions. I know this is taking a few minutes, but we're trying to.
Shouldn't circulation be unduplicated? The answer there is no. Circulation is just the total tonnage of drive-bys. Works sort of the same way impressions do. Impressions are really the amount of eyeballs that see a location. And it doesn't take into consideration the fact that you can drive by that location every day for a week and be counted the same way each time. That's okay. What matters is how the reach and the frequency are displayed. What reach is the percentage of people unduplicated that see a location at least once, and frequency is how many times. So if you multiply reach times frequency, you end up with the rating point for that board, gross rating points. Impressions, again, are just the tonnage of people that actually see the ad. Circulation is the number of cars full of people that drive past it. Let's do one more here. While it will vary as a benchmark, what is a good TRP level to buy by market? That's a great question. Gone are the days when we can just say, well, this is what I want to buy in a market, and have the same number of boards be sold in a market and have it have the same impact. I think we've always known, everybody's always known, that each market is different and that it should take, and does now take, a different amount of boards to generate the audience levels that you need to have a like impact across markets. So I can't give you a really good answer about what is a typical level. What you really need to do is take advantage of the media metrics that are now available to you and figure out the levels that you need by market on your own.
Jeff, we do have a question about circulation, and the question is, does circulation include pedestrians?
Yes.
That's a very quick answer, but
well, I like getting to the point.
So with the expansion of our transit research, our inclusion of pedestrians in traffic counts runs across all markets that we measure. Okay.
If we stumbled over ourselves and didn't answer your question clearly enough, please call us directly or email us. And if we didn't get to your question and you'd like to get an answer, email us or call us as well.
And I think I would like to mention that there are so many questions related to our digital measurement program and how it impacts your interpretation of ratings and other questions specific to transit. We will have subsequent webinars on those topics over the course of the summer. We did have a question about the availability of the ratings across third-party suppliers, particularly Telmar. Do we have an update, Sean, in terms of that availability?
Well, Telmar and IMS are both working very hard on integrating the new data into their systems. There was a lot of work involved because of the expansion of demographics. We are, as mentioned, releasing the data on our ADS website on Monday. Telmar and IMS will follow, but soon after. I don't have an exact date, but they're working as hard as they can to get the data released.
Thank you, Sean. And thank all of you for attending. If you have any additional questions, which I'm sure you do, please send them in to us, and we will be happy to respond. Thank you.